Congress, which is mainly composed of President Rodrigo Duterte's allies, have pushed a newer version of the already existing Human Security Act of 2007. It is the Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020, or popularly known as the Anti-Terror Law. As a premise, the main purpose of the said bill is to give the government more teeth as countermeasure for terrorism threats. It was also considered necessary on the time it was on passing because according to the government, the current pandemic situation offers opportunities for looming possible terrorist threats to the Philippine state. This claims to punishing specified terrorism acts, notwithstanding of where it is occurring. Also, expanding Philippine jurisdiction over Filipino nationals regardless of the location. Whether someone colluded, connived, or personally involved in an actual terrorist act. So these are the 5 key elements of the anti-terror law. First, engaging in acts intended to cause death or serious bodily injury to any person or endangering a person's life. 2. Engaging in acts intended to cause extensive damage or destruction to a government or public facility, public place, or private property. 3. Engaging in acts intended to cause intensive interference with, damage, or destruction to critical infrastructure. 4. Developing, manufacturing, possessing, acquiring, transporting, supplying, or using weapons, explosives, or of biological, nuclear, radiological, or chemical weapons. And last, releasing of dangerous substances or causing fire, floods, and explosives. So to summarize, this law is not limited on actual terrorist acts, but also acts that compromise key public infrastructures and critical public facilities. The Department of National Defense welcomed this anti-terror law. However, the said law received extensive backlash and criticisms from different sectors, particularly the opposition, youth groups, civil society groups, and even caught the attention of various international associations. Prominent points for the backlash and criticisms are the law's vague and overly broad definition of terrorism, inhumane warrantless arrests, and legalization of detainment of suspected individuals until proven innocent. To sum up, the President's administration has successfully produced a weaponized law to brand whoever they want as enemies of the state. Even if the law is said to be implemented in a good light and intentions, one cannot simply be comforted and contented, given the controversial track record and history of the current administration. So there are a lot of questions. Who will oversee the implementation of the law? Given the infamous widespread and systemic violations of the people of authority, how can one be so sure this law will be implemented properly? Does this law offer subtle loopholes that can be subject for abuse and propaganda? This seemingly endless debate can be considered one of the most controversial topics in the history of the Philippines. Living in a world that is getting more prone to terrorism, I believe that our country needed such preemptive measures for terrorism. But also, we should be observant and learn to scrutinize such political and social issues because yes, it does concern us. And we should also not be contented on surface level of analysis. We should learn that if we are sincere to end terrorism, we should look at the actual causes that might invoke terrorism. Because if there are no injustices, there are also no terrorism. According to a UP alumni, Lucia Silva, beyond the ludicrous propaganda and empty rhetoric, armed struggle is born out of the government's failure to provide the basic needs of the people. If the government is actually sincere in its endeavor to end local uprising, it should properly address the actual root causes of armed struggle. Intellectualization, genuine agrarian reform, termination of relation with abusive imperialist nations, actually protecting our sovereignty, and overall, giving opportunity to the masses. These are the most effective way as countermeasure of possible uprisings. And as 21st century students that should believe that criticisms are vital and necessary in living in the contemporary world, it is our obligation and duty to be observant, and stand in what the light of the truth illuminates before us.